Nazi pug. Remember that? Remember that video? I don't know if any of you subscribe to me. I haven't heard of it. It wasn't really a big deal or anything like that. But yeah. After all this time, we have another update in regards to the appeal. But before I go into that, I want to start explaining everything that's happened up to this point, because a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, it's been a long time since we've had an update. What's going on?" And it's purely because everything that happens in the legal system takes fucking ages. I mean, I was originally arrested for this back in 2016. Was convicted, I think it was in 2018. I was convicted. And then the appeals process has been going on since then and is currently still ongoing. But we've reached a stage where some serious business could possibly go down, but I want to run a few things past you first before I make any kind of decision. But before we do that, let's just do a catch-up on everything that's happened so far. So everyone knows that I was convicted. I was found guilty of breaching Section 127 of the Communications Act of 2003, wherein I did in fact post an offensive message on an internet platform. Basically, I was convicted for offending people, causing offence, which essentially means that every single person that is in charge of daytime TV deserves to be in prison, because I find absolute garbage fucking TV programmes highly offensive, right? There's a whole thing about the problem with that law, because offence is completely fucking subjective, and this is 2020, you can't tell a fucking knock-knock joke without someone being offended, complaining, and people that don't have hands can't knock. Go fuck yourself, but that's by the by. As I was convicted for causing gross offence, something that's completely fucking stupid, I decided to appeal my sentence, because I'm not a criminal, and I don't think that pissing people off because I made a joke, should result in a crime that resulted in a criminal record for myself, an £800 fine and a 2-year trial, and having my name dragged through the newspapers and being called Super Ultra Mega Hitler, and many things. It's not been great. It's not been fun. Would not recommend. As we were appealing my sentence, we knew that it was going to be a very long, very drawn-out process, and there would be a lot of manpower involved in getting the task done, especially when, it comes to legal counsel, submitting applications, all that type of stuff. So we had to do a fundraiser to fund my appeal, and the original target of the GoFundMe fundraiser was £100,000, because that, at the time, is what my lawyer thought it was going to cost. We blew right past the target, and we ended up raising about 190. After GoFundMe takes off their fee, they keep a percentage of whatever was raised. And we managed to start the appeals process. So the first thing that we did was I hired really, really good legal counsel on the advice of my own lawyer. We basically got the Scottish equivalent of OJ's lawyer involved. And the first thing that we did, the first step in the process, is to appeal to the sheriff court. So because I was convicted in a sheriff court, not a high court, I need to appeal to the sheriff court of appeals. And there's 2 stages to that. Basically, you get to submit your application the first time, basically saying, my conviction was absolute fucking nonsense, which it was, and we would like to appeal it. At which point, the sheriff who reviewed it sent a kind of semi-threatening letter back to us, basically telling me, the sum up of it is, how dare I wish to appeal my sentence? I should be grateful that I didn't go to prison, for telling a joke. And then he threatened my lawyer with being charged with contempt of court for doing his job, right? So that didn't go too well. That didn't go very well at all. And then we tried it again for the second stage, because you're allowed to do 2 submissions, at which point it's reviewed by 3 sheriffs, at which point they rejected it, and that was it. Now, the way that the system works is, usually, like back in the day, if you appeal to the sheriff court and you get rejected from there, you could then appeal to the high court. But the way they've restructured the system is, if you are convicted in a sheriff court, you get to appeal to the sheriff court of appeals, and that's it. That's it. Nothing else. You don't, that's the end of the fucking road for you. You don't then get to appeal to the High Court and then appeal to the Supreme Court. So we kind of had to jump the gun a little bit to see if we could at least get the High Court to hear our case. So my lawyers submitted something what's called nobile officium, which is this really, really old law, which basically means that I contact the highest judges in the land. I think the law is that old, it literally says that. And I basically say to them, I have tried every avenue available to me. I'm getting absolutely fucked over by the system here. Can you please have a look at this? And we got granted a hearing for our nobile officium. So I stood in front of the 3 highest judges in the land while my absolutely shit-hot legal team presented their case. And it's a complicated process, but there was a little bit of fuckery. I know the sort of basic version is, there was a question that we wanted to ask, but if we were able to ask this question, then we would have been bumped up to the High Court right away. And I think they knew that and they didn't want that to happen. So what ended up happening is we had to have a different hearing discussing whether or not my legal team were allowed to ask that question. I'm not a lawyer, you might have noticed, so I'm not explaining this very well. But basically, there was a certain question, if we got to ask it, that question alone would have let us go to the High Court. I think they knew that, so they wouldn't let my lawyers ask the question. We instead got a hearing as to whether or not we were allowed to ask the question. At which point they went, no, you're not allowed to ask the question. And that was it. Nobile officium. Boom. Done. No. Go fuck yourself. So that was a very expensive way of being told to go fuck myself. So after that, we decided to sort of just jump the gun and appeal directly to the High Court to see, if they would just hear our case anyway. So my legal team prepared everything, sent it off to the High Court, and the High Court told us to go and fuck ourselves. And bear in mind, this entire process, the whole thing, took fucking ages. Like, these things are all happening like 6 months or like 9 months apart, especially with the Supreme Court, because after the High Court, we went to the Supreme Court to see if they would be able to hear our case. And the Supreme Court rejected my application, saying that it was incompetent, and a lot of the newspapers and, urinalists went along with that, like, oh, Count Dankula had his incompetent case rejected. Incompetent. Do you want to know why it was incompetent? So would I, because they never fucking told us why. They just said, that's incompetent, and rejected the case. And we were like, why is it incompetent? And they said, it's just incompetent. So that's excellent. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. It's fantastic to know that is where my tax money is going, to these very high-end, extraordinarily intelligent people who give fantastic, intellectual, high IQ answers such as, just because. So basically, as far as everything went, I was spending a lot of money at every stage to be told to go fuck myself. So, despite the fact that all I did was tell a joke that pissed people off. I literally just offended people. That was my crime. I made people get really pissed off. And what happened, they were maybe annoyed for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then, apparently the response to that is for me to have my name absolutely dragged through the media and have a criminal record for the rest of my life and be unemployable. I can see the logic in that. I made you a little bit annoyed for about 15 minutes. In fact, let's even call it a day. Let's say that you seeing the Nazi Pug video completely ruined your day. You were so upset by this spicy meme and spicy banter that you were the only reason you probably saw it is because the media threw it in front of your face. That's probably the only reason you saw the video. So even though it was the media that sent it to you, I made the video, so therefore it's my fault. And because I pissed you off for a day, I deserve a 2-year trial and a criminal record for the rest of my life. I see the logic there. I do, I see the logic there. That's fine, It's kind of like giving a shoplifter a lifetime sentence, but I completely see your logic. So the financial quote that I was given of £100,000 was for, the Sheriff Court of Appeals, the nobile officium and all of that stuff. He didn't expect to get absolutely slapped down at every single stage. Almost kind of like there was people in high places that really didn't want me to be successful. So he never expected to have to go to the High Court or the Supreme Court or all of that stuff. So it ended up being even more money. Now, everything I'm giving you just now is complete ballpark estimations. So everything that we have done so far, I will post, I've said this before, but at the end of all of this, I will post a full bill of absolutely all cost expenditures, you know, the full lot, and I will post it publicly for everybody to see, just so everybody knows exactly where the money went. You know, none of the money ever hit any of my accounts at all. It went straight from GoFundMe to an escrow account that's being managed by my legal team, which means even if I wanted the money, I couldn't just run off to Argentina or anything with it, because I can't even touch it without the sign-off of my legal team. So basically, I will post a full breakdown of all the costs, absolutely everything that was involved in the case. But right now, we're sitting at, as far as costs go, approximately 140,000 in costs. And we've reached the final stage of everything, because in this country, the Supreme Court is the last place that you can go to. So we'll need to go out of country to the European Court of Human Rights. And I know what a lot of people are going to say about that. Ex-UKIP boy is having to go to the European Union to ask for help. The European Court of Human Rights is a totally separate entity from the European Union. They're even on a completely different legal system, right? They're in Europe, but they're not part of the European Union. It's a completely different thing. So what happens if we go to the ECHR? Well, what would happen is my legal team would prepare a submission and give it to the ECHR, basically saying our client, Marcus Meekin, Count Dankula, had his rights violated by the British government. And then there's a few different things that can happen after that. The ECHR can right away, upon reviewing it, say, yes, his rights were violated, and boom, that's it, they've ruled in my favour. But after that, that submission can then get sent to the British government, and the British government can then say, fuck that, no we didn't, we want a re-review, at which point it gets sent back to the ECHR for a re-review. And if they re-review it, they can again say, no, we rule in favour of Count Dankula, or they can say, yeah, you're right, no, we retract that, we do not rule in favour of Count Dankula. So basically there's two stages. You get your first review, and then you get a re-review, which you can get if you request it. And that's for me and also the British government. Now the thing is, if it reaches that end stage, if it gets to that point, and I'm not happy with the result, or the British government's not happy with the result, we would then go to the second stage, which is the big, grand fucking trial that would happen in the big ECHR courthouse. Now the problem with that is where the journey would have to end, because that would be a fucking unfathomable amount of money. Like, that's an extreme amount of cash for me to be able to do that. The British government can do it, no fucking problem, but I can't. I've raised enough money. I don't want to do any more fundraising. I already felt like an absolutely cheeky bastard raising that first lot of money to do the whole appeal in the first place. I don't like e-begging. I don't like it. I'm fine with receiving money if I've actually done some work, right? But e-begging I don't like. So as far as stage 2 of the big trial, you know, going to the big grand fucking courthouse, I can't afford it. I don't have that, and I do not want to do another round of fundraising. So basically, the best thing we can hope for is I send in the submission, the ECHR rule in my favour at that first stage and say, yeah, you violated Count Dankula's rights, and then just hope that the British government go, yeah, whatever, fine, and just accept it, which I do not think that they are going to do. but see, just to have that little ruling in my favour, that would just be fantastic. The problem is, out of all of the funds so far, we have spent £140,000 estimated. It's roughly about that. And if we want to go to the ECHR and do this submission plus a re-review, which most likely will happen, then the cost for that would be £40,000 plus VAT, which would mean there would be no money left to give to charity after it. In fact, anything that goes over, I would need to cover myself. And that doesn't sit right with me, because so far, out of every single avenue that I have went down, I have just been spending, even though we have a good case, it's blatant that my human rights were violated. I was punished by the state for something that I said that was a clear joke, clearly intended as a joke. I'm a fucking comedian, right? It's blatant. It's just blatant that my human rights were violated. But even despite that, I was told, go fuck yourself at every single stage of every appeals court throughout all of Britain. And I don't want to go all the way here just to spend a lot of money to be told to go fuck myself again, when instead that money could have been donated to charity. Because if I go ahead with this, then there's going to be pretty much no money left and no donations going to charity. But afterwards, I would probably do a bunch of fundraising for charities, like charity streams, charity stuff, charity this, charity is what I'm worried about the most here. Because at the start of this, I was believing, at the end of this, I'm going to have a nice big fat fucking whack of cash just to hand over to a children's hospital or something like that. But, fucking life's funny. Life doesn't give a shit about your plans. So, the problem that I'm having here is, do I go ahead with it? Do I go all the way to the European Court of Human Rights and risk spending the last of the money to be told to go fuck myself again? Or do I just draw a line in the sand here, call it quits, and everything that's left, which I think is about 40,000, again, this is all estimates, and just give that to a children's hospital? So what I've decided to do is I'm going to leave it up to democracy. It's your money. You guys donated it, and I know you donated it towards my appeal, and the promise was, that I've said from the beginning, anything left over, I would donate straight to a charity. The problem is, if I do go ahead with the European Court of Human Rights thing, that would drain the last of the money. And it is your money. I know that you gave it to me for the purpose of the appeal, but then it means that no money would be going to charity. So I'm putting it up to a vote. I've got a poll that I've created. I've put it down below. And I think I'm going to title the poll, Should Count Dankula versus the United Kingdom happen? It's your guys' money. You gave it to me for the appeal. But again, do I go ahead with it and spend the last of the money to be told to fuck off? Or do I just stop now and donate the rest to charity? Right, I'm not going to go ahead and make the decision myself. I'm a big fan of democracy, so I'm going to leave it up to you guys. The poll is down below. If you want to vote and decide on whether or not Count Dankula versus the United Kingdom should happen, then let me know. And whatever the answer is, even if I'm happy with the answer, even if I'm not happy with the answer, I'll go ahead with it, because that's how democracy works. The winning vote is the thing that we've all decided to do, right? Remainers, take note. I'm doing this purely because it is your guys' money, and you should definitely 100% have a say in what happens to it. I mean, I do want to fight this thing to the furthest extent that I can fight it, within my means, so that I can look back on it and say, I did everything that I could. But then in the same breath, I don't want to look back on it and say, I wasted all of that money for nothing, when that could have gone to a children's hospital. It's fucking, I can't make that decision. So you make it for me, right? Democracy. So what happens after the poll? Well, if everybody votes no and tells me to just draw a line in the sand, end it here, and that'll be it. That's the end of the Nazi Pug appeal. I'll tell my legal team to draft up the final bill showing all the costs of absolutely everything, and then I will post that publicly so that people can see exactly where all the money went. Sensitive information redacted, obviously. If people vote yes, Count Dankula versus the United Kingdom should happen, then I'll tell my legal team to prepare the submission to give to the ECHR. Now, the problem with that is, like any other type of legal system, it takes fucking ages. I don't know how long it's going to take, right? Hopefully not too long. Hopefully not fucking too long, because this has been going on for 4 fucking years already. Hopefully not too long, but we'll get an answer back. And if they turn around and say, yes, we rule in your favour, then I'll deal with whatever happens after that. If they turn around and say, no, we do not rule in your favour, then I'll do a resubmission. And if they tell me no, then I'll just end it there. Because see if it gets to the stage where it has to go to stage 2, where it's the great big court. I can't afford that. I'm not doing any more fundraising. I've been a fucking cheeky bastard enough as it is. So that is when I'll finally draw a line in the sand. Yeah, this has been going on for a very, very fucking long time. A very fucking long time. And you know, I would like a win. I would like it to end on a win. But you know, can't always life's not always fair, you know, especially when you get fucking dragged through the mud in the media and get a criminal record for telling a fucking joke. So yes, it is your guys' money. You gave it to me towards the appeal, and the agreement was anything left over I would donate to charity. Not a penny of the money is going towards myself. It's just it wouldn't sit right with me if no money at all was going to charity. But then I also want to be able to fight this to the fullest extent that I can. So again, democracy. The poll is down below. It's going to run for 3 days. And then whatever the result is at the end of it, that's what I'll do. Right? A few things to close on. Right? We have all fought bravely. We've all done everything that we could. And win or lose out of this case, even if it is win or lose, a huge free speech movement has started developing in the UK and has been growing for the last 4 years. A lot of the younger generation are just loving freedom and loving freedom of speech. People like to be able to speak their mind, especially against the powers that be, which is why the powers that be hate freedom of speech. Oh no, it's to fight racism and bigotry and blah blah. Yeah, that's what China and North Korea said at first as well. And fucking look at them now, right? We know your end game, right? We're not fucking stupid. So to everybody that has joined the fight thus far, I thank you very, very much. This is probably, you know, going to be the end. You know, the end is coming soon. Maybe. Depends how far. It's going to take fucking years again, isn't it? There is one final thing that I do want to close on though. Journalists, do not email me asking me for a comment about this. You are serpents, and I do not like you. Do not flood my inbox saying, hi there, is it okay if we get a comment about what you're doing with your appeal so that we can twist it into all kinds of fucking bullshit? No, you're not. You're not doing that again. You're not doing to me again what you've been doing for the last fucking 4 years. Right? So see, if you email me, I'm going to reply with a picture of my balls. If I see you in my inbox, you will see my balls.
It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody should subscribe. Yeah.